Invite him first to make his presentation. Dr. Yogesh Jain, are you listening us? Dr. Jain, this is Dr. Rajesh Kumar, the same guy who visited you last month for 3 days. There are many Rajesh Kumars actually in India. So
Yes, sir.
it is over to you. So we have here about 250 people who are
Yes, sir.
alumni of National Institute of Epidemiology, and we just had a plenary discussion introducing UHC by Dr. Devdasan. So over to you.
Yes, sir. So, thank you so much, sir. And I heard Deva speak and clarify what UHC has meant to people over the world, and specifically what does it entail to get UHC into this country. Plus, where are we? How far are we in being able to achieve this dream? That the dreamer that Deva is, and obviously in company with Sunil, I would like to just talk about our attempts in rural Chhattisgarh to be able to achieve universal health coverage. Care, I would say, rather than coverage here, through the method of comprehensive primary health care, which we try to provide for in our own work area and show a mirror as it were to the state in Chhattisgarh as well as to the rest of the country. So while we embarked upon UHC, the various challenges that we saw while we brought up this organization JSS, as we call it now, there has been a very low self-esteem for the public health system. At least I can speak for Chhattisgarh. There is a shortage of staff, which is very clear, far more than Tamil Nadu. People in Tamil Nadu will never understand what a shortage of staff means. And clearly also a problem about political commitment that has been there. We don't have a Thaksin in this country, and we don't have the research staff that would support him also to bring up what they did in Thailand. And financing has teetered around 1% for decades now. And as well as there has been a poor spirit level, I would say, in the entire team which looks after health programs. So we brought up JSS as an organization in late 90s and we would define ourselves as a public non-state rather than as private non-profit. We are a public organization as much as the state organizations are, which are essentially only in a participatory democracy. They are only representatives which get elected once in 5 years. So we too are public but not state. And also people-centered in that case. And we've been able to develop this three-tiered healthcare system, where at the apex is there a 100-bedded referral center, which caters to major health problems from people from about 3,000 villages, population of around 1.5 million or 15 lakhs, of 9 districts from Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh. A second tier is formed by 3 health and wellness centers. In fact, the idea of a health and wellness center came from the case studies at our organization only. though they have been, vulgarized in a way, in the way that it has been taken forward at the national level. These 3 health and wellness centers together look after about 60, 70 villages. And then we are the third level, we have 72 villages where we have a intensive village health worker program where we have the entire database also. And in fact, the Mitanin program also was largely drew upon some technical inputs from our health program, which later led to the ASHA program at the national level. So we have been trying to provide comprehensive primary health care as a method of ensuring UHC. And there are, I would say from the experience at JSS, 9 points that I would like to say over the next 3 minutes to talk about that learnings that we have derived from our program. First is that, just to reiterate what Deva has already mentioned, for any UHC to be appropriate, it has to be universal. And universal means for all the last person in the most vulnerable groups have to be included. Otherwise, it is not UHC, and it has to be community based. You can ensure, tuberculosis as one case in point, you can manage some problems in a hospital or in both secondary and tertiary care may be necessary, but it has to be community based if you want to achieve anyway close to what we want in a national program. In tuberculosis as one example of a disease, which comprehensive care demands. The other is, as an example, I would say, if you look at even the non-communicable diseases as a group of illnesses, where actually we don't have a model for provision of care without ensuring, community-based care. You cannot even start to dream about ensuring adequate NCD care, whether it is screening or whether it is ensuring compliance with treatment for an illness which requires treatment often for 40 years on end. Second is, I would like to say, learning from what work we have been doing at JSS, that insurance-based methods, as they are conceived of at the moment, whether it in the Ayushman Bharat program or in the RSBY early Avatar, are completely inadequate for providing any semblance of UHC, because one, they don't provide, they provide care for some procedures only and not for all admissions also. And secondly, it does not look at any amount of any outpatients care at all, because I'm told insurance mechanisms don't allow the number of transactions that happen in an outpatient care to be looked after. And thirdly, no preventive and promotive care are possible through an insurance method. It's completely clinical and also only procedure-based care available. So if you want to get a leg chopped off for diabetic foot, that is possible in an insurance program, but not daily metformin or other medicines or other care that you need in an OPD-based patient care of diabetes. Third is that we have championed the role of a mid-level health worker, who we feel is the missing piece in the care, in the human resources for health, and for which we as doctors have not allowed, this cadre to get the required respect and the training content and the other support that is necessary. But and I can say we have no way to go for UHC in any form without respecting and working for the mid-level provider. We have agreed, reluctantly to have a CHO, community health officer, at all health and wellness centers, but are not giving adequate inputs into their training or their mentoring. That is equally important. So a mid-level worker is essentially, as we have good examples to show. And the fourth is that clearly we need funds that are not being provided for, and I think that itself kills all the ideas. If you don't put money into the program, then you had it. I know that the private sector also tries to lobby for increased funding, but that is because they want to run it on their own and take away the money that the country might provide in case our budgets for health increase. And the next message is that we feel clearly that private sector based or dominated program in any form of insurance or any other form of UHC provision cannot be allowed, and they cannot be regulated well. And in any case, I would like to learn from the Turkish experience and in fact argue for banning of private practice as a method to reduce any form of further privatization or ongoing privatization of healthcare as this country is allowing. And I strongly also feel that health and wellness centers as an infrastructural locus for providing universal health care is a real possibility. We don't just have to paint our UHCs and brand them as we are doing it now, but to ensure its further proper structures and functionalities that we need to do. And finally, I would like to say that at JSS, we have been able to, over the last few years, able to develop a specific program of peer support groups to support care for chronic diseases, of which NCDs are the predominant ones. Without having a peer support group as an example, I don't know of any other model of ensuring adequate with treatment and further investigations in all the non-communicable diseases or in all NCDs. And as we know that NCDs are the predominant set of illnesses that go into comprehensive care of illnesses, peer support groups now turn out to be a way of ensuring compliance. Our compliance in illnesses varying from sickle cell to epilepsy to patients with diabetes mellitus who are non-insulin dependent has gone up from a dismal 20% to over 85%. And I know in the other continent called Tamil Nadu, the compliance rates in hypertension and diabetes have not reached over 50% in spite of a wonderful program in a wonderful state. So this is an example that I would like to share for the rest of the panel to look at and for the rest of the country to look at. This is all from me for the time being, and if you want, I could answer questions if any. Thank you.
Okay, Yogesh, thank you. So very important message here. There is comprehensive primary health care and community based, and where services are free and there is peer support available. And we as medical doctors need to respect those who did not get medical degree but are equally intelligent, and they can do lot of work in the communities. So that is the message which we are getting from here. So I think with this first panelist, he also mentioned something about Tamil Nadu. So I think it will be appropriate that we can now have inputs from Dr. Barney Dharan in Tamil Nadu. They have done a pilot for UHC in some of the blocks and have been implementing this NCD program for a number of years in Tamil Nadu. So, Dr. Barney.
Thank you, sir. I am also like Monikam, sir, I am also COVID affected. Since my mission director is not there, as a stopgap arrangement, I am sharing my experience in piloting the UHC in Pudukkottai. And I have the benefit. Everybody would have known the Einstein and Driver's story. So the Einstein was giving a lot of lectures. So once the driver also attending all the lectures, and he became very confident. Once he said, "I'll do the lecture, what is there? You can sit." So the same way, the driver gave the lecture, and somebody asked this question. This is a simple question my driver itself can answer. So I have this question of my additional director is there. What he is not there has gone. My additional director is the real Einstein because he was the brain behind this universal health coverage. So he can answer that. One more thing is I should be thankful for NIE because immediately after completing my MPH, I joined Pudukkottai and I was given this task of doing piloting of UHC. So all the experience and knowledge we gained during my course, I could be able to achieve something I can believe. So initially when I was given the task, it was like the three blind men because the USC was piloted in Pudukkottai, Perambalur and Krishnagiri. So we were two blind men and one woman describing USC or finding out what actually it is. And my chief secretary, the previous Dr. Girija Vaidyan used to say, Dr. Devadasan clearly explained that cube. Dr. Bharani, that's nothing simple, just this cube is small, just you have to expand the cube so that it occupies the whole thing. That was the simple task given by my health secretary. So with these few words, I'll go to my experience sharing. We based, our USC is based on this, our public health system. Everybody, this is a strong public health system with all the, this is shows all the strengths in our, because we have a dedicated public health character and public health structure. For example, we have around 8,700 HSCs and PSCs, 2,285, and medical colleges 24. Maybe if I put a slide next week, I should have added 11 more medical colleges. So every year we are including medical. So our health system is so robust. That's why we focus this based on the UOCs on this public health system, availability, accessibility, and affordability of health services. This is the NSSO 71st round 2014. It clearly showed only 0.8% in services are available at HSC level, and mostly in urban areas, private hospitals, and rural area, both around public and private hospital. So with this in mind, what was the concept of UHC in Tamil Nadu? So we want to build a UHC within the public health architecture without altering our existing policies. And we made some tailor-made changes in the program, because we are by training, public healthcare team building, and one more thing is different is we were middle-level health providers. Government of India was advocating something, and we wanted an additional VHN as our middle-level healthcare provider. So, health sub-center centering was our cornerstone, because though we were having a lot of health sub-center over a period of decade, because of not proper maintenance, everything was in a dilapidated state. So once I joined Pudukkottai, we have to rebuild, renovate all these health sub-centers so that it becomes usable, and also the additional VHN can stay. That was the state of affairs during my tenure in Pudukkottai. And we wanted to expand service delivery, because what the initial issue was that people always thought health sub-centers as maternity and child health centers. Some VHN will come, they will do some antenatal care, some direct benefit transfer, and they will go do some immunization. That was the thing was going on in the mind of the people. So once we started, we are going to give all the primary health services that has to reach people. That was the main challenge we faced. And this is the timeline or how we went through this UHC. Initially pilot, the UHC scoping study was done in June 2013, and May 2017, actually it was, pre-planning was there from October 2016, but it was launched in May 2017, one block each in 3 districts. And November 27, it was upscaled to all the one block each in all rest of the 39 health unit districts. And June 2018, so much of PHC were transferred, and with the Health and Wellness Center, all now from April 2019, all the rural and urban PHCs are now Health and Wellness Centers. This is our organization of comprehensive primary healthcare services. For example, at the population level, we had this population-based screening through our women health volunteers. That is, that is one landmark, say, achievement. That's a tie-up between the Women and Child Development Department and the Public Health Department. We employed one women health volunteer. We gave training. They started doing screening with the BP apparatus, digital BP apparatus, glucometer, and they refer cases for cervical screening. And Health and Wellness Center, there was additional VHN who has been trained for 6 months in middle level healthcare provider. They are also doing screening. So all those two people referred. Our first referral unit was primary health center. So these were the inputs that went into the universal health coverage. So first our task was to build the infrastructure, that is electricity, water supply, sanitation, and putting additional VHN, because there was the closure of many government A&M institute. When we went for additional VHN, we couldn't fill up all the vacancies. So we have to search for all the additional VHN and drugs, including NC drugs we were able to give. And basic diagnostics, point of service delivery, diagnostic services, and digital maintenance. We developed some software for this maintenance of the USC. So what was the output that we achieved is the increase in OP attendance, that is up to 13. Our target was around initially 20 to 25. And one thing we, as Pudukkottai, what we tried is we got all the line list of NCD patients. We gave to the HSC and the VHN. At least we start distributing with NCD drugs. It will be so that people will come to the HSC, so that the news will spread, so that it will be made fully functional to give other services also. And our knowledge partner, Professor Murali Madharan team, IIT Madras, they were all along us guiding. They are doing a baseline survey, and after a program also they did. And the report is available online in the public domain. And we could see a significant fall in the share of private hospitals for OP care. The outcome is strengthened primary health care system, and significant OP was reduced, and enhanced economic outcome of primary healthcare delivery. So this, I am sharing some of the slides from NHM and also Professor Muralidharan. I should give credit to him, whom overview of service deliveries, whom we covered from family members mapped in USC, HSCs, and by the government department, and free drugs, diagnostics, consultation, and differential primary healthcare services at different levels. And we had an IT platform also. So this is the linkage of NCD services under USC. So the WHV, they used to go door to door, do a screening with the glucometer and a digital BP apparatus, and women above 30 years were referred to primary health center for cancer cervix screening and cancer breast screening. So the NCD staff nurse, as a TNHSP1, that is a dedicated NCD staff nurse, were posted in all PSCs. So through them we could screen more number of people. So more, because once we achieved the facility-based saturated, we went in for a population-based screening. So these are things we develop: hands-on training, standard treatment guideline, and what are the job responsibility, and hub and spoke model. That is we had an hub as CHCs, and spokes are the PSCs, where we collected all the samples, and 25 diagnostics are given at the hub. This is the vehicle which used to carry the blood samples, and these are the training modules in Tamil we developed for training the women health volunteers, and also middle level health providers. So this is our branding of Health and Wellness Center and software. So this result is available in public domain. This is my blog where I worked. So we could see an increase in number of OPs from 0.7% to 14.08%. And there was a marked reduction in the private hospital from 47.87 to 24.2. So what are the experiences? Significant fall, that's I have already mentioned, and we have reduced the out-of-pocket. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think Tamil Nadu implemented that incremental approach of achieving UHC, adding one additional public health nurse, and then adding one more staff nurse to the PHC, and making them better infrastructure in both the testing. and providing all the supplies. And this is how you could also see involved a academic partner from IIT who could show that outcome, that from the private sector people moved into this public sector. I think that we also saw once this NHM launched, that many people who were delivering in private, when services became available in the government sector, they moved to the government sector. We also see that in the TB program, in HIV program. I think the private sector utilization is so high because the government sector was not functioning very well. If that functions, I think people will come for the taking free service. That is, I think Tamil Nadu is showing that universal health coverage is bringing people more to the government sector, and where cost is much less than the private sector. So I think with this, we move on. Dr. Nandaraj, would you like to have your views? And then we can have some views from Himachal Pradesh.
Hi, good afternoon. First of all, I would like to thank NI for calling me. I usually don't attend conference. I've stopped attending conferences. But NI, since I teach here, and Prabdeep was very forceful in telling me to come, I have come here. And I'm sharing my thoughts on my UHC based on my 20 or 30 years of working in the health sector. And also I did an assessment. In fact, Deva and I and others, we sat down and said, hey, what is this UHC? If we don't understand, how will it be? So we did some work and brought out a document which said that before you get into a PHC, first of all, you should understand who's covered, who's not covered. And we came up with a document, and I think it was quite used. Okay, mine are slightly radical views and thoughts, so excuse me for that. And my views are mainly with the assessment and the work I've seen across in Nirman Bhavan, in the states, and at the district level. I think UHC has become a fashion without any passion or any vision. I think Deva brought out. For everything we chipcow this word UHC. I don't think we really know what we really want on UHC. Because WHO said, sitting in Geneva, everybody's got into this bandwagon of UHC. We move from slogan to slogan. What happened to that slogan for health for all? Sometime back, we remember that 1980s. Then we had something called strengthening health systems. We just keep moving from one Jumla to another Jumla. And now the latest Jumla is UHC. I don't know how long it will continue. I really am worried about this, how long this fashion will go on. Government efforts in the name of UHC are like applying Band-Aid to the structural problems that are there. We are not going to have anything until we keep doing either the touch-up, and I think we are doing only Band-Aid service. And as Yogesh and others, Deva pointed out, coverage of health insurance is not universal health coverage. Just by providing secondary and tertiary care of 1,350 procedures, you can't call it universal health coverage. And then you add on wellness centers, which, as Deva brought out, one section doesn't talk to another section. I don't understand in our country why are we really talking about UHC when our basic healthcare system is not able to provide basic medicines. Paracetamol nahi mil raha hai hamare primary health center mein, hamare district hospital mein. Immunization, bad coverage, just 56%. Diagnostic tests, we don't have much. And how can we aspire for UHC? I mean, are we really taking ourselves for a ride? The other mantra, is dished out every time. Even latest Modi ji also gave one mantra, 2.5% of public expenditure of GDP. Rata hua, first 5-year plan say I've been hearing that. Where are we when it is 1.1%? And frankly, I don't agree with this GDP as a denominator, because the GDP denominator keeps shifting. And so, just question it. I and some other colleagues are trying to write a paper on this and looking at the growth rates and all that. But this 2.5% is a mantra which they are just rattling and we are falling for it. Why 2.5%? Why not 2.4%? Why not 2.6%? Where did this figure come from? No idea. Private sector clearly bring out news reports about how unethical, irrational practices are being carried out. Cut practice goes on. When a patient enters a hospital, they are not asked what their illness is, but they are asked, what room do you want? Are you covered by health insurance? Those are the questions that are asked in a hospital. And I don't know the role of private health sector in health, universal health coverage, because they provide 70% of your care. We have targets for doctors in hospitals, private hospitals. If they don't get those many targets, they are removed. Cut practice is rampant, which we will not address. We don't want to address. Every city, every three-tier town has got this cut practice that is operating. We have a private sector which is unregulated, unaccountable, non-transparent, and not functioning. The quality of care is questionable. How do you take the private sector with the UHC? Forget it. Public is only providing 30%. That also I am doubtful. Now you have this huge private sector. How does it get into all that cube? I don't know. How does it fit in? The objectives of the private sector are profit-making and not universal health coverage. They do not even focus on public health. We do not have any data on the private health sector. Last 3 days we have been listening. Private health sector data is poor. Health has become a commodity to be traded in the share market. The corporate hospitals have shares, and that is what. We are talking in the context of a universal health coverage. Public-private partnerships, we are talking about, this is a statement, these PPPs, according to me, are really a norm which really, I don't know from where it came. It is actually an abdication by the state in providing healthcare services. We are abandoned by the authorities. There is no ownership of public health facilities or programs or facilities. PPPs are a method of state shirking responsibilities of providing healthcare. In one state, entire urban health dispensaries were handed over to the private sector. What do you want? And when I went and asked, what is it? And now Niti Aayog comes up and says, please hand over the district hospitals to private. PPPs are a reason because of inefficiencies in our public facilities. That's what they say. So then, is there any evidence where the PPPs have worked? I have really not come across any data where PPPs really have worked. Our ability to enforce contracts is very bad. We are not able to do that. And it's right from Nirman Bhavan to the district health officer. And this PPPs, I'm telling you, many of you are government officers, a day is not far off when the Department of Health, Ministry of Health will also be outsourced. It's already being done in many institutions and organizations where consulting firms, international organizations are sitting on the laps of the various institutions and dictating policy. It is happening. Look at Ayushman Bharat. Look at the number of agencies working in Ayushman Bharat. There are some 30, 40. So it's policies taken over by firms, consulting firms. So one day I also see the Department of Health, Directorate of Health Service also outsourced to Deloitte or E&Y. I see that happening. Why not? Role of regulation. No one wants to be regulated. The less said about the clinical establishment, the better, where I was involved, and Prabdeep said speak something about the clinical establishment. We don't have, one of the basic things we do not have from the private sector is no outcome data. Everybody says private sector is great, we are doing this. This cardiologist has done so many operations. Boss, where is the outcome data? We do not have that. I have two options. I'm not just criticizing and, I'm a cynical optimist finally. I think I suggest two options. One is have a vision, develop overall operational plan with includes all the sectors, public, private, CGHS, ESIS, various systems of medicine, have milestones with time frames. If UHC has to be achieved, governance becomes a key aspect. Make the health bureaucracy, that is this DHS and all these Nirman Bhavan characters, for outputs, make them accountable. Right now, health secretary is not accountable. No one is accountable for anything except that poor A&M target and that ASHA, you give target. Other than that, no one is accountable. And make the director, additional director, whoever is, that if you don't bring down, your increment will be cut, your pension will be removed. Do that. Make it output based. I feel, and also here I think, also the IAS officers should be made accountable because they seem to be the main drivers of health system in our country. Drivers or whatever, not that drivers, sir. PMO, I feel if you want really things to happen, the Prime Minister's office should monitor because things will move if PMO, because policy is being done right now. Relook at Ayushman Bharat, regulate the private health sector, that is my usual Ghana, I keep going. Option 2, just 1 minute ma'am, before you raise. Option 2 is hand over all public health facilities to the panchayats and Zilla Parishads. Let them decide whom they appoint, how long they appoint. I know it's radical, but it's high time we thought of something different. Urban local bodies, let them do what they want. And the private health sector, licensing, whether they require so many hospitals, so many beds, so many MRI machines in a particular area, let the panchayats, Zilla Parishad and urban local bodies decide. I go back to my old mentor, Dr. N.H. Andya, people's health in people's hands. For me, that is important. Government's role is only to provide finance and technical know-how. That is the role. So DHS and all this, they will go give technical if they are asked for it by the panchayats. Private health sector, licensing and control should be with the panchayats. So my thing is there are two options. Now, let's see which one works, or otherwise we can go on the incremental in this band-aid. Thank you.
So thank you, Dr. Sunil Nandraj, for showing us the mirror. Really, I think this is necessary to see ourselves in the mirror and face the reality. And I think he is very nicely brought out. I think Yogesh also mentioned shortage of staff. He mentioned shortage of resources. What can you do in 1.1% of GDP? You need more. And we need a clear vision how to deal with the situation now, private sector, PPP, and regulation. These are very tough things. And something which he brought out very strongly is decentralization. How to involve people in decision making. That is something which is mentioned many times in the documents, but hardly in the practice, except for some programs which public organizations run in the community. So I think with this alternate view which is given by Sunil, I think from Himachal Pradesh, Anadi, Dr. Anadi, they have also, Himachal Pradesh is also very unique. very much, most of the public sector institutions there. So if you can also share your experience of how you are moving towards UHC.
Thank you. I thank the organizers to have me here. I'll be taking you through the journey what Himachal Pradesh is following to achieve universal health coverage. So Dr. Devdasan, I have your cube over there and trying to fill up that cube. So what is our strategic thinking? We want that secondary and tertiary healthcare should be taken care by health insurance. But we do understand that that is not the ultimate thing. We really have to strengthen our primary healthcare. And that we aim to do through health and wellness centers. We can have it in any names, health for all or whatever, but the concept is we have to strengthen our primary healthcare. So, coming to the health insurance part, or I would like to say secondary or tertiary healthcare. So, we are talking about Ayushman Bharat, PMJ. In Himachal, we have got 16.57 lakh households. So, PMJ covers 5 lakh households. Then we have government employees and retirees. They are 4.51 lakh households. And they are covered by, they are given medical reimbursement. So, Himachal launched an ambitious scheme by the name of HimCare, in which we have successfully enrolled all the rest of the population. So, what is HimCare? In HimCare, we give health insurance equivalent to that of PMJ for street vendors, Manrega workers, BPL workers who are left out from the SCCC data. We give them this insurance free of cost. For contractual employees, disabled, ASHAs, senior citizens, Ekal Naris, we give them at a premium of 365 rupees. And for all the left out categories, which is above poverty line also, we give a health insurance cover of 5 lakh rupees for 1,000 rupees per annum. So, practically speaking, we have covered each and every household of Himachal Pradesh by the PMJ, HimCare and the government employees. So, one or two dimensions have been looked into. Now, I have been told to speak more about health and wellness centers today. So we took a late decision to go about establishing health and wellness centers. We took the decision in 2019. We aim to upgrade all our PHCs, which are more than 500, and all our health sub-centers, which are more than 2,000, into health and wellness center. And not only upgrade them, but make them functional by 2022. So that is the goal we have taken for ourselves. Now, what is functionality of a health and wellness center? A health and wellness center should have human resource. We say that a PHC should at least have a doctor, and a health sub-center should have a mid-level health provider. Somebody was talking about the packages in the health and wellness center. Yes, we are going to start with 12 packages, but it is not that we stop at 12 packages. After dental, mental health, and other things, we can expand further. There should be drugs and diagnostics. Definitely, there should be drugs and diagnostics. We should start enumerating all our community and initiate screening. Taking into view the global burden of disease study, we know what are our burden and we should start screening for them. There should be IT applications, teleconsultation, and we don't restrict to primary healthcare. We go a step further by bringing in wellness activities. And branding is one part of it, so that community comes to know that there is something new and there are going to be some new services in these health and wellness centers. Himachal was doing good whereas HR was concerned. We already had a policy by which doctors who were serving in hard or very hard areas were given monetary incentives. And obviously for PG exams, they get extra marks. So Himachal had already saturated its PHCs, though it was at a cost of our sub-district level hospitals, which slowly became empty and the doctors, young MBBS doctor wanted to go to the very, very difficult areas. Now coming to the mid-level health provider, it was a very tough call for us. We said that we'll recruit BSc nurses. Though Government of India says you can have BAMS or even dental surgeons, but we took a policy decision, we'll have BSc nurses. They have to go a 6-month bridge course at a IGNOU certified program study center. Government of India had asked us to establish these program study centers at the district level. But we took a conscious decision that we'll have them at the medical college. Why? Because the quality of the course would be good, faculty would be available. So we have 7 medical colleges, all run this course, and we have successfully placed 338 community health officers. Though we are having an issue in the Honorable High Court of Himachal Pradesh, where the Ayurvedic doctor have filed a petition that we should be considered. Now, drugs, we have notified the list of drugs which should be available in the PHCs and health subcenters, and we are monitoring it through the electronic system of DVDMS, and we have this system up to the PHC level. We have trained our CHOs, and now we are going to bring it down to the subcenter level. Diagnostics was a big challenge. We need to provide 13 point of care tests at the subcenter level and 63 at the PHC. But we were not having lab technicians, though we did have equipment, but lab technicians was a big difficulty. So what we planned is that we will strengthen our own lab at the sub-district level, and we will have people to bring samples from the PHC to the sub-district level. And we piloted it in one district, and this youth from Nehru Yuvak Kendra were roped in, and they were given monetary incentives depending on the distance they cover, and it is working out very well, and the issue of joblessness was also solved to some extent. Now, coming to population enumeration and screening of NCDs. So Himachal Pradesh again took a very important decision that we will not go with the Government of India 30 plus now. We'll screen everybody above 18. Basically, our other programs like RBSK and other programs were covering up to 18, and 18 to 30 was an age group which was left. So we decided to bring it in. We have started screening for hypertension, diabetes, oral and breast cancer. We plan to screen for cervical cancer using VIA at all our health subcenters. We are training our CHOs, we have trained our CHOs. We have developed our NCD application of our own, and it has been duly integrated with the Government of India application, and it is in the process of being integrated with the Health and Wellness portal. We have put the hardware in place. We have desktops with webcams in PHCs. All our MPWs have got Anmol tablets, and we are providing smartphones to ASHAs, to all of them. Coming to teleconsultation, we have been speaking that CHOs are not supposed to prescribe drugs. What they are supposed to do is to continue a treatment which is prescribed by a medical officer. And they have been taught under standard treatment guidelines. So the CHOs would be linked with the MOPHC, and if the MOPHC is not there, with the telemedicine hub. We are establishing 3 hubs in the medical college. It will have 5 MBBS doctors and 3 specialists to start with. And there would be an option of e-prescription so that the doctor at the telemedicine hub prescribes and the CHO dispenses. Yoga was a very tough challenge when wellness activity was said. They said you should have certified yoga teachers. No, they were not available. We tried to find them, but they were not there. 2, 3, 4 in a district. So we roped in Department of Ayurveda in this month. What they are going to do, they are going to ask volunteers to come from the community who are teaching yoga at some level. They will be assessed based on competency assessment, and we will impanel them. So at least we can start some basic wellness activity in all our health wellness centers. That is what we plan. We are thinking to tie up with sports department and other, but this is what wellness activity we are planning. So that's all from my side. Thank you.
So, Dr. Anadi, thank you. They have prepared a blueprint, and I think what is very new in their scheme of things is they have extended that PMJ type of thing to the entire population, which I think Punjab has also done something similar. So I think universal is not that you give to 40%, you give to everybody, whatever you think is appropriate. I think we have these kind of plans, but we need to think that how to assess the outcomes. I think Dr. Deva also pointed out, and Dr. Sunil, he was also saying, I think NIE with epidemiology skill should also come out with these things which are going on, how to measure and how to see that whether these are having some impact at the end of the day. And these two states can show, what the initiative which you have been taken, whether they are bringing results. So that kind of thing also is needed. There are lots of challenges, of course, on the way.